Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Hello
Okay.
and welcome to ET Auto Startup Adda, a station for innovation. So I'm extremely sorry for the delay due to technical glitch. This is actually my day one after Corona in the office, so internet was certainly something that was giving a trouble. Nevertheless, today we have a very exciting startup that is going to participate at ET Auto Startup Adda. Let me introduce Cygni Energy. This is a battery pack manufacturer, and the founder is Mr. Venkat Rajaraman. He has been in the Silicon Valley for 15 years, worked for a semiconductor company, and now he is finally here with us today. His first job was in 2014 with the Cygni, where he tried to become a DC company, power distribution, solar power distribution company. Now he has evolved himself into a battery pack manufacturing. Let's hear from him what kind of vision, what kind of business plans he has. Thank you so much, Venkat, and my sincere apologies to you as well. I had to make you wait because of the technical glitch. I was not able to connect to you. But over to you. Let's hear from you. What is there in store from Cygni?
Good afternoon, Nabil. Thank you so much for inviting me for this event. I have been, yeah, a fan of yours. I've been watching all of the startup Addas, and truly, I think this, as the theme goes, I think it helps for the other entrepreneurs to sort of learn from each other. I also love your tagline where you say that a good leader takes little more than the share of the blame and then little less the share of the credit. Thanks to you and thank you for inviting me. And as you pointed out, I am the founder of Cygni Energy. So Nabil, if you would allow me, should I, take a few slides and then talk about what we do at Cygni? If you
Yeah,
suggest,
that
then
will
I
be
can
better.
share.
That will be better, Venkat. Of course, go ahead.
Fantastic. Let me just do that, Nabil. Let me know once you're able to see the screen. Uh, is my screen visible?
Yes, we can see it.
Fantastic. Okay, so let me quickly. I think it's just few slides just to give an introduction about Cygni. I thought doing that. So as Nabil, you had pointed out, we were born out of IIT-Madras, right? So that happened about 5 6 years back, and we are an incubator there. Initially, we were working on this solar DC technology. We believed that the future of energy is all going to be direct current. In that process we had built quite a few technologies there. Our first foray into lithium ion happened in the year 2017, where we deployed lithium ion for the distributed renewable energy project. Of course, this technology that we had built also got IEEE award. IEEE is for Oscar for the electrical and electronics engineers. We were very happy to hear that. And as part of the startup journey, we also raised some funding in 2018. We had been focusing a lot on the microgrid on the energy side of things. One of our microgrid project in Manipur also got a microgrid conference award in San Diego. That happened a couple of years back. So far, we had completed 75 megawatt hour of energy storage, and we had also powered 15,000 plus electric vehicles so far, Nabil. So a short journey in terms of what we have done. And Cygni is purely focused on energy storage. As how you have introduced this, and we are focusing on energy storage across few verticals. Electric vehicle being a key one. We are also focusing on telecom, which is a huge opportunity, as well as for commercial and renewable energy storage as well. And of course the technology collaboration with IIT Madras, and essentially what we do is we tailor these battery packs as per the application needs. That's what we believe that we specialize in. And then of course it's all about batteries, right? Today, every time there is a discussion about electric vehicle, within the first 30 60 seconds it moves towards batteries, right? The electric vehicle, predominantly I think the push is happening because of the fall in the battery prices. And if you look at it, it had dropped by an order of magnitude. What used to be about $1,000 per kilowatt hour now is hovering around 150 $120. Of course, recently there has been some sort of a price surge, But in essence, the battery prices is the predominant factor, and this is exactly what we are focusing on at Cygni. Two things that differentiates us at Cygni, Nabil. One, we believe that the products, the India requirements for electric vehicle is very different from what is needed for markets such as Europe or US market, for two reasons. One, of course, India runs on two wheelers and three wheelers. More than 80% of the vehicles on the road is two wheelers and three wheelers, which is not the case in other countries. And number two, I think the key focus areas for us is, of course, cost going to be a predominant factor, because at the end of the day, we need to bring in the engineering efficiency, manufacturing case at a cost that is affordable for Indian market. And of course, India has a wide temperature range. We all know, right from Rajasthan to Jammu and Kashmir to Karnataka to Hyderabad, you have a very varied ranges of temperature and humidity and so on. So this has to sort of meet that requirement. More importantly, the thermal management, which is a very key aspect of a battery, is also limited because of the size limitation which are there on the battery pack. We cannot do very extensive thermal management, cooling systems and so on and so forth. So we need to really optimize and innovate there. Of course, we also need a very large cycle life. Today the electric vehicle will will adopt only when there is when there is the EV is on par or better than the equivalent ICE engine. Maybe we'll talk about it during our discussion. And finally, the batteries have to be modular, right? Today, whether it is swapping or replaceability or recyclability, modular batteries are very key. So what we believe is that the requirements for India for battery pack is very different, and this has to be addressed, with innovation coming from India, Nabil. So, given that, where do we, sort of do? Of course, we are focusing on energy storage. Automotive, industrial, telecom is what we are doing at Cygni. We are also working on energy storage, which is basically, this product would be out, in a short while. And of course, we are a chemistry agnostic company. I know this question will come from you very soon. Today, we are, we do not care whether it is, of course, there are a whole bunch of lithium-ion variants, whether it is LFP or NMC, and of course, also the newer chemistries that may happen. We are also working on, hybrid, ultra capacitors plus lithium-ion batteries, and of course, new chemistries. It could be aluminum. So we believe that our expertise is in, the power electronics, battery management system, putting together in terms of the thermal and vibration and the product engineering, customizing it for the for the application specific needs. And of course, the manufacturing is a very key component for that, because today, I think, in order to reach the scale that all of us are talking about, a top of the class manufacturing, top of the class quality is going to be very critical. Yeah, firmware and management software is a very key piece of the puzzle for us, because today the battery pack, more than an energy storage device, is more of a an IoT and AI and ML coupled device, where there is a lot of things are happening inside the battery pack to make sure the performance and life and safety are all improved. So predominantly, this is the singular focus that what we have at Cygni. We have a range of battery packs. I will not go through, but predominantly we are focusing on two wheelers and three wheelers. Of course, the battery pack capacity has been going up with the recent FAME 2 scheme extension and the subsidy increase. We also provide the what is called as the battery swapping batteries, which is called as a lock smart protocol. This is a very key part of it, and of course, all of our batteries come with this software enabled one, so that you can dynamically configure these battery packs as they degrade with time. The same thing happens
Venkat,
with
Venkat, we
yeah,
are running out of time because of the
got it.
delay in the schedule. I'll just like to bring in the expert for today, Mr.
Fantastic.
Mahesh Babu, CEO Switch Mobility,
Okay.
to give his opinion on your venture, and then we'll get into the discussion further. I'll request my team to bring Mahesh on stage. Thank you, Mahesh, for joining in. I know you are in between a meeting, and because of the technical glitch, we got a bit late. By the way, I have joined my office today. This is the day one. I'm doing this episode number 18 from office. Thank you, Mahesh, for joining in. Just want to understand your quick review of the Cygni Energy.
Great, Nabil, thank you. And my apologies for joining late. There's been always issue. Venkat, congratulations for you and your team for being in EV mobility and also in energy storage.
Thank you.
I've seen a lot of good work being done by you guys. This is the future, and I'm happy that you guys are going full log in both batteries for two-wheelers, three-wheelers, as well as on storage. Okay, I have some few thoughts and questions which I want to ask you. Probably you can reflect upon. This is the most hottest place, and everybody is into it. If, I meet like 100 guys in a year who want to start battery swapping, battery manufacturing, storage, and all that. Then why do you think yours is very unique, and what do you think you can do something differently in this space for the customers?
Yeah, thank you, Mahesh. I think, great question. I know this was to happen because I think, so today, the battery market, unlike in US or Europe, is very undifferentiated in India, right? You do not have, companies such as Fluence, companies such as Core Power, companies such as, Cynexel, Cube Energy. These are all, today India market is undifferentiated. But I will tell you what we bring to the table, and I would love to get your expert advice. So today, what we do is we differentiate on five different things, for the battery packs to be, to be a good battery pack. One, of course, the firmware and the hardware which are required inside a battery is a very key piece of the puzzle, right? Whether it is a battery management system as a hardware and a whole bunch of things that has to happen on the firmware, so that it can actually talk to the vehicle, talk to the charger, talk to the cloud, and so on and so forth. This is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is, productization, right? The product engineering is going to be a very key, whether it is, plastic or a metal or what, kind of mold, because these are all going to go inside an enclosure which have to be, IP67 or better. It has to work across this multiple, varied temperature ranges, and then work across, when there is, heavy monsoon and so on and so forth. The product has to be really designed. The third one is, very strong simulation and analysis, right? Whether it is for vibrations, whether it is for shock, whether it is for thermal analysis, these are all customer specific one. The fourth key component is a very strong in-house cell level characterization. Today, the chemistry is changing, almost every day. There is a LFP re-emergence which is happening, and the cell level understanding is very critical for the battery pack to be successful. And of course, this ability for the team to meet the customer requirement. Every customer needs, some sort of a customization from a CAN bus, from a VCU, from a charger. We believe that these five put together today is going to be the key differentiation. And whoever, the market is very big for, maybe, tens of unicorns to be there in this field. We would like to be one of them, Mahesh, actually. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Venkat. That leads me to the second question, which is very critical, because battery is about trust. Big players like LG, Samsung, and all having a recall for big companies. And how do you think you will be able to convince your customers on the trust and life of the batteries? Because it's not based on what you say in your software, but it's about how to convince your customers, because people will know after 10 years whether your battery has performed or not. And
Correct.
how do you take care of that?
Yeah, fantastic, Mahesh. So, so today, I agree with you. The differentiation is not there because every battery pack goes inside. Only time will tell whether this pack A will last this 5 or 7 years, or the battery pack A will fail after a year. How I believe this market is going to evolve is this is going to be a connected hardware plus software, Mahesh. So what we talked about, so the battery as a hardware is going to involve a whole bunch of technologies, including 4G and so on, which are already there in many of these newer vehicles which are launching, and that is going to get onto a cloud platform. So how I believe is going to happen is, so today, however much we talk about the trust and safety of the battery, the market is too nascent for anyone to prove or disprove of that. But if you can show cycle after cycle how the battery is performing, right? If I can show them to the customer saying that, hey, listen, you have driven, maybe for the last 6 months, and this is the number of miles you have driven. These are all the conditions under which you have driven, and this is the sort of a degradation that had happened on the battery pack. That is the only way to distinguish. So the trust is going to be built over a period of time. As they say, reputation gets built overnight, but integrity takes a whole life to build. This is something very similar to that is what I think is going to happen, Mahesh. So of course, many of this imported so-called battery packs, which has a simple protection feature, they will go out the door, right? What is going to finally last is those battery packs which are tailored for these Indian conditions, and someone who goes extra mile to make sure that the battery packs are monitored and make sure that the data is given to the OEM, so that they can sort of analyze this these factors and then verify that the battery is performing well. Of course, this is there is some time that is going to be involved, but I believe that this is going to be an exercise that the manufacturer and the OEM will have to work together. We are working on such something similar with couple of OEMs on that.
So very good, Venkat. So I understand you are bringing data transparency to the customers to build trust and co-create the trust over a period of time. So I understand what you're talking about. My next question would be that this whole battery pack has about 70-75% value in cell, and the remaining 25 to 30% value from all your power electronics, bus bars, electrification, cooling, and all that. Now, how would the supply chain? You need to really control the supply chain to be the cost-effective factor in this game. So, how would you think you will be able to control the supply chain of cell with so much technology being changing? What is your thought on that?
Yeah. So yeah, if I were to say that I know this answer, I would be lying, Mahesh. So this is a very tough challenge that we are all facing. But how we are looking at it is, I think today the supply chain is pretty much hypothecated to a single country, right? The cell is pretty much coming from one place. The only way that we can do is make sure that sort of make sure that the quality of this at the origin before you take it. That is one. What we are doing is we are doing a whole bunch of things, to make sure that there is a, you go through a first, whole bunch of characterization and validation process, so that you choose only those, the good cells which are there. I don't mean good cells meaning it will not be a tier one manufacturer, but good cells which are meeting for the Indian condition. Number two is making sure that we have a long-term contract with them. Until the time, I'm thinking that in India we are at least about 2 to 3 years away before the cell manufacturing gets kicked off the ground, and we basically so until such time, I think supply chain is predominantly between China, Korea, and Japan, and of course 95% of this is with China. How we are doing it is making sure that you supply, handle the raw material quality at the time of dispatch, and the moment it reaches here, of course, today good thing is the battery technologies have evolved so much that you can actually making sure that you can test that before you take it into your production line. Between these two would be the way to sort of control somewhat of the supply chain, but still that risk remains.
Okay, Venkat, I really understand what you're saying, because first I went to EV in Mahindra to the business in 2015. I actually visited multiple battery players and many of them, and requested them, can you put up a battery facility, pack facility for us? And none of them came forward. I'm very, very happy to see such huge investment is coming in battery pack. And Venkat and team, best wishes. India wants more entrepreneurs like you in EVs, particularly battery storage and battery one. And best wishes to all of you. And thank you, Nabil, for the chance, and to keep what I would say motivating new startups through this platform. And that's why always, irrespective of all my schedules, I'll make sure I want to be part of it. Because it is the need of the hour in the country, and very happy to be part of all of you. Thank you. And all the
Mahesh,
best.
before I let you go,
Thank you
I
so
would
much.
like to hear a few things from you. One, if you have any suggestion for Venkat, how he can do things better, number one. Number two, how will you rate this particular startup when it comes to scalability or business viability? On these two aspects, how will you rate them when 10 is the highest, 1 is the lowest?
So Venkat, I would say that I have few suggestions which you must be doing it. I'm not sure whether you are doing or not. My suggestion is this area is very dynamic. The strategy which we take today may not be the same after 2 years or something, but the investment will be for a long years. So you should be agile, nimble, and flexible enough to change the strategies based on the flow coming in. I think the most important is the customer value proportion. I'm sure you are working towards it. As long as you protect the customer value proportion and be flexible in your business models to serve the narrative of what we have to do to the customers, I think that's the best thing. The opportunity on battery pack business is substantial in India. We are at a very early stage, and I'm sure many entrepreneurs are here, and I'm sure you are very aggressive in 2 and 3 wheelers. My best wishes to you. It has a very high potential because this whole area is yet to get explored. Because the electrification is about 2%. We are talking about 30% in 2030 and many more beyond that. So it's just at a very starting stage. I would say it has a huge potential. From what I understand, you are in the right segment, 2-wheeler, 3-wheeler, which is in the very high priority list of electrification and also in energy storage. If you can look at a very good market share, I would rate that you have a very good opportunity of, in the scale of, let's say 1 to 10, I would say between 7, you have a very high opportunity to capture. Now, whether you will capture it, it is all up to you and your team, how best you have to perform and capture this opportunity. Because the volumes will come from 2 and 3 wheelers, and the energy storage is being discussed at a very large scale with hydrogen economy and how renewables will play a very vital role in our energy transition in India. So you are in the right space. How much volume you take, how innovatively you take is based on what you do. I think you are in the right path, and I would say it's a huge opportunity which we should not miss on.
Thank you so much,
Much
Mahesh.
appreciated, Mahesh. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us in the expert segment. That's the end of the expert segment while we take the discussion forward with Venkat. Thank you so much once again, Mahesh, for joining in.
All the best, and thanks.
Mahesh, sorry, Venkat, I just want to understand, is there somebody who is watching who wants to build their business in battery pack manufacturing? Can you share with us what are the standardization, if there's any, in India for battery pack manufacturers? Is there any rule of the game that you'd like the future entrepreneurs or those who are trying to take a step or take a plunge in this business? What would be your key nugget of advice that you would like to give?
Got it. Yeah. So I am also in the journey, but I think what I think is happening is lot of focus is given on battery pack at the beginning of life today, right? Every manufacturer is focused because the barrier to entry is low. Lot of folks are able to put this battery pack at the beginning of life. If there is one thing that I would ask the viewers to do, look at the battery pack, design it with end of life in mind. What happens during the end of after 3-5 years. Look at the degradation, look at the kind of stress that the battery pack is going to undergo, and see if that is designed right for that now. Because today, when you go for standardization such as AS048 or AS156 and so on, they are all testing the battery pack at the beginning of life. There is no test which tests at the end of life. So I would strongly ask us to focus on that. And number two, of course, there is a lot of reliance on energy density, higher range, faster charging and all. But if there is one parameter that I would ask all of us to look, is that of safety, right? Keep safety as paramount and keep everything else as a secondary priority. Because if the batteries are safe and if they are working well, India's EV market is bound to take off. But if there are safety issues such as whatever happened with Hyundai Kona or Chevy Bolt or something, India kind of market cannot take it. So safety has to be the highest priority.
Even we have seen a couple of two-wheelers catching fire, electric two-wheelers. Venkat, what is the biggest ask from your customers right now when you go on to strike a deal with the customers?
Every customer, at least for example, we are working with some of these e-mobility customers. The demand for customization of the battery pack, right? Saying that, hey, listen, this battery pack will have to talk to the vehicle control unit in this way. This has to talk to the charger in this way. I want the data to come out onto my cloud server this way. So today, what I see is it's almost like 8 to 9 months effort to work with them to tailor the battery pack to meet that requirement. And I think this is the biggest demand. I also believe this is the biggest moat as well, right? Who are able to go through and develop the battery pack, they stay with that OEM for a longer period of time. So customization, I would imagine, is the biggest ask from the customers.
So we continue the discussion. If you have any question, do post in using hashtag Startup Adda. Venkat, I just want to understand next thing. That should be the first question. Probably you are an engineering graduate, electronics engineering graduate. You moved to the US. You were there for 15 years in the Silicon Valley. Worked with in Nevada. You worked with another startup, and you were having a good professional life. I think this startup journey is quite tough. I know that it's only a few marginal percentage of a startup gets success. How tough or easy it was for you? You coming from a middle class background where your parents were also service class, you were also a working professional. How tough or easy it was to decide to take a plunge in this startup world?
Right. Thank you, Nabil. I think so. Just as a background, I had my master's degree from Stanford, and I'm a semiconductor in chip designer for a very long time. I was with the Sun Microsystems, and we also did a semiconductor startup, company by name Portal Player. The claim to fame of the Portal Player is we did the semiconductor chip that went into Apple iPod, the music player. This I'm talking about in early 2000s. Of course, we piggybacked on Apple's success, and when Apple iPod became very popular, Portal Payer also, it was fairly successful. It got listed in Nasdaq and got acquired by Nvidia. The one incident that happened, very clearly, I'll just take a minute, and so when we were doing it, I was on my, trip to US, and then there was, two young boys with their grandparent was traveling with me to the airport. So he, listened to all the things I said. That listen, you have a good education. You are working on this, good company, but you're spending your time, building a music player for some kids, right? What are you doing to, make a difference to the lives of people? Where you can actually, differentiate. I think that was something like somebody, hitting you on the head saying that, should do something better. So for me, I think this is the best plunge that I have taken. No question about it. I only wish that I had taken it earlier than that. Of course, it has, full of, it's a roller coaster ride, but it's a fantastic journey so far. I am very, grateful and humble for all the things that have happened. Nabil, your voice is breaking. I cannot hear you.
Sorry. So
Okay.
just want to understand what is the toughest challenge that you have that you are trying to tackle with, and what are the long-term vision for you? You talked about unicorn. When do you expect to be unicorn, and what is the path to unicorn for you?
Okay. So, the toughest thing today, at least from the vantage point that I have, India has, lots of, IT or the engineers who are, non-product related folks are available, right? When it comes to product delivery, especially for such a, high quality, this thing like automobile, I do find that we lack the right engineering talent, right productization talent. So it is, getting the right product, right quality out has been the biggest challenge there. Just because the ecosystem has not been fully built there. Having said that, I think it's just a question of time, because I know from where we were, at least at the industry where we were 4 or 5 years back, we have come a long way, and I'm very sure we are on the right path. In terms of our growth plan is concerned, I think, so today we are focused on these three verticals. I believe that even at a conservative estimate, India is talking about 70, 80 gigawatt hour of energy storage requirement by 2030, which is, I'm talking about, even at a 5 gigawatt hour capacity, we are talking about 15 gigafactories which are required. So I believe that with the growth that the EV is experiencing, we are looking at about a 500 crore turnover in the next 3 to 4 years, Nabil, and time only will tell. Keeping fingers crossed, actually.
What's your current turnover, and can you give us a sense on funding? What kind of funding
Right.
you have right now, and what's the plan going forward?
Yeah. So we have raised so far equity and debt together about $8 million, of which equity is about $4.5 million we have raised. And this year, we are on target to do about little over $10 million in terms of a revenue. And of course, the EV industry this year, in spite of having a COVID at the beginning of the year, it has already taken off. If this trend continues, we are expecting that we should be hitting closer to 25-30 million dollars next year. And then of course the debt portion of it, we have about about 4.5-5 million dollars as a debt from the banks.
Don't you think you are looking a bit conservative when it comes to funding? Do you think there's no enough scope of people funding a company like you? What are the hitch? Why are you being so conservative? We talk about $100 million, $200 million in the EV space. All these
Yeah.
startups are talking. Your assumption or your expectation looks a bit on the downside. What could be the reason for that?
Yeah, great question, Nabil. So today, I think the battery as a market is very undifferentiated in India, because everybody sees that what is great there, because everybody can sort of put together. So the barrier to entry is low. So we do see two sets of people. One of these large inverters, they are all sitting on the sideline saying that let me wait and watch as to how the market picks up. The other set of people are basically putting on the new technologies and so on, but there is not much of a differentiation that is getting built in. Having said that, okay, we are in the middle of a round which is going on. Unfortunately, I'm not I'm not privy to sort of do that, but we believe that the industry is going to grow. I do believe that we are going to see a lot more of, I know we have seen that in EV OEM space, we have seen that in motors and other spaces, but the battery is not far away when we see that. And I do hope that when that happens, it is going to propel the industry forward.
So will you try to be part of like a tier two supplier to cell manufacturer? Because we see in India or overseas across the world, we have seen that the automobile industry is moving towards a system supplier rather than one or two component or sub-assembly supplier. For you, when you are only doing battery pack manufacturing, how easy it is going to be to expand your business or scale up your business? First part of this question. Second part of the question: do you want to also tie up with the big battery manufacturers, cell manufacturers like Seattle, Panasonic, etc., and do a B2B kind of business, also probably be a pack provider to them? And what will it take for you? And then don't you think your business dynamic suddenly changes up and your scalability go up? Do you have this in mind?
Yeah, yeah. So I think Mahesh was talking about being nimble. So today I'll tell you how I see this market is evolving. Today, the technology on the battery chemistry is changing very dynamically. Right? I know we are talking about NMCs. Some of CATL is now talking about sodium ion, talking about LFP. There are solid state batteries. So at this point of time, for a country such as India, we don't believe it is right to tie up with one of these manufacturers, because that would sort of constrict ourselves, because the technology is growing as we speak. Right? I do not know what is going to happen maybe 3 years down the line. So which means that we want to be nimble that way, right? We want to be technology agnostic. We don't mind having a partnership, but not so much as a very strong tie-in with the cell manufacturer. That's your sort of a second part of the question. The first part of the question, yeah. So today, the automobile industry is moving towards the system side. I agree with you. But if you see how, for example, the energy storage companies in US or Europe is evolved, right? For example, 3 or 4 names that I talked to you about, they have all established themselves as singularly focused energy storage between electric vehicles and energy storage for renewable energy. That's an opportunity, because there is an underlying technology change. there are application specific things that we need to do. We believe that that opportunity of that focus would be the right thing for us to do. That's what we are looking at. But of course, we would be agile, we would be nimble as the market changes. It's too early to talk about how this is going to play out.
Okay, it would be a bit too far-fetched question. Just want to understand in the long term, what do you see phase two of your business model? Right now, you are focusing on battery pack manufacturing. What could be your phase two plan?
Yeah, so the phase two is, I think, I know that there is a lot of talk about electric vehicles and electric vehicle battery. The talk that is not so much in place is about renewable energy and renewable energy based storage. Right today, India is already talking about 100 gigawatt hour of solar, and I think the estimate is that we want it to be 450 gigawatt hour of renewable energy, of which 280 gigawatt hour is going to be solar and about 100 gigawatt hour in wind. If you look at these kind of sources, these are going to be so dynamic, right? These are solar or wind. You need a very strong storage as a platform. So our direction that what we think is going to happen is it's going to be based on behind the meter, front of the meter energy storage. But that opportunity for renewable energy is as big, if not bigger, as compared to an electric vehicle. So that's the direction that we believe we will sort of take it over a longer term.
Thank you so much, Venkat, for joining IT-Auto Startup Adda, a station for innovation. I look forward to seeing you doing much better than you expect. Thank you so much once again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining IT-Auto Startup Adda. We will be back next Tuesday, same time, with another startup founder and an expert. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you so much.